Okay, so today we'll look at aspects of file system design. We'll look at only at the top level because we don't have time. And the file system, by the way, is evolving still, So different version of, not versions of older file system, but even new file systems are coming up. And you can see, it, even very recently introduced file system by some person in Linux. So I was looking at the Linux journal this morning and found out there are a good number of new file systems that have come up. And of course, the process of something that will come in or introduce in actual Linux takes long time, but a lot of research is happening in design of file systems. Okay, so today we'll cover some file system data structures. And then let's look at what we have done so far, studied so far. So at the top, user may just ask for few bytes of a file. Okay, and they remember that user level we have a buffer where we can store data for efficiency reasons, right? So for example, your user program is asking byte by byte, but so at the top level we can have variable size buffer where we can put the data in. You can get the whole block from single block or multiple blocks from file system or files, and or hard disk, and keep it there. Okay, but at the file system, at OS level, we have concept of blocks. Okay, so OS deals only with blocks. Earlier, OS, especially device driver, were dealing also with the details of the disk. The which platter, which sector, and so on, right? But of late, all this information about which is particular to a particular disk will remain inside a disk, right? And it provides to higher end, which is OS layers, data in terms of blocks. And OS can also for a block, and all other things within a block is handled by OS. Okay, so for example, a user program is asking for few bytes, then OS will provide those bytes, but in turn OS will get a block from hard disk. Okay, so we can also have flash memory, as we see here, at the right hand side, called SSD. All right, and this is the structure we have seen. Okay, of course we have seen some other structures because each opening of a file gives a descriptor. Okay, we have seen that, right? It's called file descriptor. Okay, all right, and then we have file descriptor table. First is a PCB contains this different open file descriptors, and then so all this, there is a system-wide file descriptor, and from system-wide file descriptor also points to inode table. Okay, or directory gives inode. From the inode, file name and inode, from inode we can also go to inode table. Okay, and inode table has different entries corresponding to different inodes. Okay, and these inode gives the details of the file in the disk, right? Say for example, number of sectors and so on, what sectors is going to use and so on, right? All that information is there in inode. So we'll look at that. So this is the one which we have seen earlier. We can do the mapping from file descriptor almost to the disk. On the left hand side we have file descriptor, and right hand side we have disk, and between we have system wide file table, and then system wide inode table. And each entry of inode gives description of the inode which corresponds to a file in the on the disk, file that resides on the disk. For example, it may say that what are the sector is using and so on. Okay, so we look at this aspect, the last two things, right? Inode, for example, inode design, or what is the data structure used in inode and how does it work. So this aspect we'll look at in the lecture today. The here shows the content of inode. In general, we have already discussed this, that link count, the file mode. Okay, user ID which is using it, your ownership information, then time it was created, last updated, access permission, and at the end that we will discuss today, which is the file location on the disk. Okay, all right. So this is it means it should point out to blocks, right? And but file can be of number of blocks, right? There is no restriction on file size in general, right? There of course has to be some upper limit, but it can go up to terabytes. Okay, if file consists of, say, let's assume 100 megabytes, then it may contain a large number of blocks, and each block, let's assume, is 4 kilobytes. Okay, obviously block size can't be very large, it can't be a very small, right? It has to be optimal size. So now a file which is 100 mbps and each block is 4 kilobytes, it has to have how many blocks? 10 megabytes divided by 4 kilobyte will be how many blocks?
2500.
1500?
2500.
2500. Okay, yes. Okay, 2500 blocks will be contained in a file. How do you keep information about that? What are those blocks? Have got to be contiguous, one after other in the first sector, second sector, and so on. Is that way? It could be one such structure, or it could be, first sector somewhere, second sector somewhere, but there has to be some pointer or something like that. Okay, so all that information has to be there in the in for example here in the inode. Okay, or in case of DOS or Windows, there has to be some information where these blocks correspond to into a file is stored in the disk. That's first information. Second information also at the system level, not really at each inode level, system level or file system level, or we can say a disk level. There has to be information which blocks are in use, in use by whom, and if the blocks are free or not, because a user may request for free blocks, then the disk system should be able to give that. Okay, so it means that there has to be information about used and unused blocks, which will of course translate into sectors in the disk. Okay, assuming the disk is intelligent. If disk is absolutely mundane as it used to be some 20-30 years back, then all this information must be kept somewhere in OS, mainly kind of very kind of in device driver or somewhere. Okay, so this structure we have seen, we're not going into it. So today we'll look at basic concepts, then how we can actually put logical blocks into actual disk. Okay, and then we'll look at three methods. Okay, first is that contiguous allocation, then FAT system, and third is Linux FFS, fast file system. Okay, so let's look at first what is file system basically does. A user is not bothered about, a user has a view of file. Okay, we never bother about where my MPEG file is stored. Okay, and then file system has to translate into what I want. For example, I may want byte number 2 to 12, okay, into actual, it has to get data from somewhere. Okay, so all it knows, the user will know what file name, basically file name, and he may want 2 to 12 bytes, right? So it has to be translated inside into a block number and which bytes and so on. Okay, so that's the role of file system, which includes both. When we say file system, includes both, that is part of OS, and also something that is part of intelligent drive. Okay, all right. Suppose we may want to write bytes 2 to 12. Look at the second, the basically third line, fourth line. we may want to write bytes 2 to 12, then we'll have to get the block first in OS, and then 2 to 12 corresponding bytes will be written out there, and then block is to be transferred. Okay, so note that everything inside a file system is in terms of whole size blocks. Okay, basically from disk to OS, the basic unit of transfer is a block. All right. Okay, so now OS accesses disk as a linear array of sectors. Okay, sorry, disk is accessed as a linear array of sectors. Okay, and then that mapping of block to disk, block to sector is responsibility of drive, intelligent drive. Right? OS can ask for a certain number of some block number, right? Means that each block is to be numbered. Okay. Okay, so these two methods we have seen. First is that OS does it by itself. Conversion of block to which sector, which platter, and all this physical dimension. It used to be, as we discussed, earlier system used to use to do these things in this way, but it was not a very nice method, because every time there is a hard disk changes or new design comes up, then corresponding data has to be there in OS. Okay, now it's very simple. The disk consists of number of blocks. That's it, and all that blocking, all this, basically conversion of logical block to actual which sector, which platter, and so on, will be done inside the disk, right? Okay. So now let's look at few other aspects of file system, which is one of that is layout. How actually we are putting the files into the disk. Okay. All right. Okay, now you would have also seen that your system, you can partition it, right? So for example, many of you would have done partition of your hard disk as, of course, the one you will use Windows. Other partition, you can use Linux. So there's something called partitions. Okay, and each partition will have now its own independent file system. So for example, Linux file system can be different from a Windows file system. Okay, each OS actually supports multiple file systems, so it could be any file system. Okay, now however, note that you remember that when we have studied how a system starts, booting of a system, right? So basically basic code is there somewhere, which in Windows we call BIOS, is there somewhere in flash drive. Okay, and then in every hard disk, sector 0 of the hard disk is called master boot record. Okay, the master boot record has certain information which will, from that, OS can find out which OS to boot to. Suppose your machine has 3 operating systems. Okay, 2 versions of Linux, and then Windows. The master boot record of the hard disk, okay, will know which is the master, or which OS has to be booted up. Okay, all right. So that is basically used to boot the computer. So master boot record does not contain complete OS. Okay, it will have some code, but it will actually point to one of the partitions which is to be booted up. The corresponding OS has to be booted up, right? Okay, so MBR has a partition table. After MBR is a partition table, right? If you look at this diagram, this is your hard disk here. Okay, the entire disk is here at the top, and then first part you see is master boot record. This has to be executed first as soon as your machine starts booting. Of course, first it comes to flash. From there, it will come to master boot record, and master boot record, will finally give control to one of the partitions or boot block in the partition. If you look at now the something that's given at the bottom, each partition has a boot block which contains the OS, rest of the OS. Okay, so the first control comes to flash when you're booting up. From there, it's a bootstrap loader actually. So it comes to master boot record. From there, it goes to boot block. Okay, all right, and then soon after master boot record, there are partition table which gives information about the partitions. You know, what are those, how many partitions there, what is the starting location, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, so and one of the partition is marked as an active in the master boot record. So master boot record will have information of which is the active, you know, which of the OS you want to boot up to. All right, okay. Okay, so MBR finds out the active partition and reads the first block from that, right? So basically from the boot block, it will it reads the first sector of that, which contains a part of OS, and then this boot block in the partition boots the entire OS. Okay, all right. Any question up to this point? Now note that this is just one of the structure that we are showing, right? No question? Okay, repeating. Hard disk in general in any computer, like your in a laptop, you can partition into number of partitions, and each partition, for example, may belong to different operating systems, right? Most of us have you know, most of machines actually is partitioned to two. One is you know, for example, corresponding to Windows, maybe other for Linux if you want to use Linux often, right? Of course, you don't need to do that nowadays because you can emulate. You know, I mean, you can have other methods, right? Virtual machines. Using virtual machines, you can load any OS, right? So this is how, in general, you can have in hard disk multiple systems, and then there is a master boot record. This tells also about what are the different partitions, okay, and which one is the active one, active OS. Okay, so rest of this partition will contain inode, and then it will also have information about root directory. Okay, and some information about free space management. Okay, and also we have something called super block. Soon after boot block, we have something called super block. You can see at the bottom, the second you know, second, what do you call that, element is shown as a super block. Super block contains key parameters about the file system. Okay, like file system type, number of blocks, and many other details. Okay, and then of course we have seen here the free space management, which tells us, you know, what blocks are free in the file system. So we can have bitmap. Each block corresponds to a bit, and with 0 then it's free, 1 is then occupied, and based on that you can find out. Or it can have list of partitions. There are multiple ways, right? Okay, after this we have shown is something called inode or inode equivalent, which shows array of data structures for each file. So each file, as we have just discussed, that contains 2500 blocks. Then where are those blocks? This file is a contiguous. I mean, logically you will see is a contiguous, right? Because you move file pointer starting from 0 byte to the maximum, it goes up to the length of the file. Okay, so what these blocks in your mind is in a sequential, basically one after other, but actual practice, it could be different blocks. File may consist of different, it consists of different blocks, but may not be placed one after other, right? Okay, and of course it has got to have root directory, and then remaining of the file here will have files and directories. Okay, so this is a structure that in general we have. in systems. Now, how do we then, question is that, as we said, 2500 blocks are there. What are different ways that we can map these blocks in hard disk to correspondingly something that's OS assumes or user assumes? Okay, it can, first is of course it can be contiguous. Second is a linked list based. Third is that actually it may not be linked list but a table which gives linked list structure, and then there is a pointer to a block, right? So, and fourth is inode. Okay, so first let's assume, let's do it quickly, is contiguous allocation. It means that whatever be the file number of blocks in a file, it has to be in contiguous block positions or contiguous sector positions in hard disk. Okay, so if file A, for example, consists of 4 blocks, then it will be, you can see here at the top, these are the 4 blocks continuously. Then file B is 3 blocks, then 3 blocks are continuous. Then file C has whatever 1, 2, 3, 6 blocks, so these are all continuous. Then file D has 5 blocks, these are continuous, and so on. So it's the simplest possible way, but there's a, the only thing you need to know is that what is the first block, and then and the length, number of blocks, basically number of blocks in a file. Then you can find out details, right, from this. But it's simple, but an earlier system used to use this method. Okay, some very simple file system may still use this method. Okay, but the problem here is that of a, you would have possibly seen that, right? I mean, the file, whole disk can get fragmented. For example, here the file D is removed or deleted, right? So now we have 5 blocks available. You can see in the diagram, lower diagram, 5 blocks which are shown as white are free. Similarly, you know, file F gets deleted, then there is 6 blocks here. Okay, now if there is a new file request come which is of 7 blocks, then it cannot be fulfilled by this method, because although there are 11 blocks available, 5 plus 6, but there is no contiguous 7 blocks available. Okay, all right, so this is a problem that is called fragmentation. However, CD-ROMs use this method still because it's very simple in nature. Second is linked list based allocation. Okay, this is the next thing that comes to mind. Why not do it in this way, right? I mean, here there's no need for blocks to be contiguous. Okay, only thing that is required is that there is a pointer, as you see in a singly linked list. Okay, wherein the point, and this pointer can be in the top portion, top few bytes of a block, each block, and that gives the pointer to the next block. Okay, and so on and so forth. Then the last one where it's ending will have pointer as 0. Okay, so when you read that this pointer is a value 0, it means that it has come to end, right? Okay, now what is the problem with this? The same problem as you see in case of linked list, right? Access is very slow, random access slow. If you're just accessing block one after other, is fine. But random access, if you want to read something from say block 2, then you will have to 2 levels of indirection, right? First you'll have to go to block 0, then get the pointer for block 1, then go from there, get pointer for block 2, and so on. Okay, however, there is no fragmentation here. Okay, third method that is used is called linked list using table. Now this is linked list use, and then pointer is a part of the block. Okay, it means the full block cannot contain the required data. Third, next method, which is quite popular, it's being used in DOS or Windows OS. Windows, of course, new version of Windows have new file system, but old version of Windows had this file system called FAT. It's called file allocation table. Okay, it's used in MS-DOS in 1977. Is still being used in many places. Okay, Okay, and then this became extremely popular, and it had also large number of security holes, very large number of security holes, and there was a great joy for malware. Basically, people, ROG element, those who make you know virus and so on, because very simple to break into. Okay, and then a lot of versions of this file system came in, which is FAT12, FAT16, and so on. So for the last one, I guess, was FAT32, which came in 1996. So it is still being used, and USB sticks and memory card use this because memory card in general, USB sticks have small amount of area memory, and not is so heavily used as we use flash drive or disk drives. Okay, so what is a FAT? So you can always find out from the directory a file name. For example, there's a file name called test, and then there will be, in Linux we have seen, or Unix we have item number, but other systems will have information about the starting block. Okay, for example, starting block is for the file system, or so for the file, this file called test will be starting at block number 217. So this 217 will point to an entry in FAT table. Okay, and that entry, okay, now note that the first block is 217 in the hard disk. Okay, and the next block is given by this entry in the FAT table, which is 618, and this gives a pointer to third block, and so on. Okay, all right. So what is the advantage here?
We just have to store one pointer in the table.
Yeah. What is the disadvantage?
We can't skip.
It's slow random access again.
Yeah, access is slow. It's not random access. Will be, I mean, at least memory accesses will be large, right? Because you'll have to many level of indirection. Fine. And what will be length of the FAT? Consider 1 terabyte file, and each block is 4 KB. Look at the size of this FAT table itself. Okay, this could be a problem. Or where is this FAT going to be? A FAT is actually part of, where is this FAT kept? Is it in main memory or is it in secondary memory?
It should be in secondary memory also.
Yeah, because the information has got to be there. Otherwise, when you switch off your computer, all information is gone. But at the access time, okay, part of the FAT has to be there in main memory. Imagine how much time you will have spent if everything is there in secondary memory. If you have 3 or 4 level of indirections, or then every time you have to go to this, access this information, go to the next time, get the next pointer, and so on and so forth, right? So ideally, all these things have got to be there in part of this, have got to be there, which is in use, have got to be there both in RAM as well as in where? Cache.
Secondary, yeah.
Cache, of course, depends on how frequently file system is being used, but that what is to be cache actually can be decided by OS. Okay, but at least in main memory it has to be there. Fine. Okay, so let's look at structure. Okay, first block, as we have seen, is super block. Let's assume this is just one partition. Okay, which gives information about the file system, like FAT version, location of boot files, total number of blocks, index to root directory, in the fat. Okay, all right. Okay, so now this part which is shown in gray contains the files and directories. Okay, so these are number of blocks. Note that this is a hard disk, total hard. Let's assuming there's only single partition. So there has to be some information in the beginning. Okay, here structure is slightly different from the diagram we have seen earlier. So okay, so all right, so these are the blocks which are shown in the gray, and the one something that's shown in blue green is fat table. Okay, so it marks which blocks is free and in use. Okay, and it gives linked list structure. So now let's take up this example. Note that this is not the true picture as we have, in the beginning we have seen one diagram. It's not the same, slightly different, but this just for illustration. Okay, how fat actually works. Okay, so now, so note that the blocks which are shown here in the green 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are actually basically belong to fat for the example here. Okay, assuming this partition has 9 blocks. Okay, starting from 2. Let's not worry about 0 and 1 at this point in time. Let's not worry about it, right? Okay, so now let's assume that first is root directory, right? So root directory is this information where the root directory is, which block it is part of the super block. Okay, so basically from this we can reach here to super block. Okay, so now you see a dot here under category name or heading name, then index 2 and is directory yes, and then what are the permissions. Okay, all right, now this directory will have other information about its subdirectories, right? So let's assume it has subdirectory Windows and users. So this root directory will have entries corresponding to Windows and users will come now. And now let's assume the Windows is in block 3. This directory is in block 3 and user directory is in block 4. This information will be there as part of root directory, right? So Windows, the index is 3, and you can see for users index is 4, basically 4th block. Okay, and then it's the directory yes and the permissions. Okay, all right, so now let's take example of a file. Now there is a file here also which is called pagefile.sys, which is also part of the root directory. Okay, so now this file will be at starting at block 5. Okay, as shown here as part of it. So starting at 5, and now it has how many blocks? It has say 3 blocks. Okay, 5, 6, 7, and we can see that here there is a pointer from 5 to 6 and 6 to 7. Okay, so this is the, and here you can see these are in different blocks 5, 6, 7. So basically a file consists of 3 blocks 5, 6, 7, and then information how 5 is next. Once 5 is read, the next one that is to be part of the file is 6, then 7. It could also be 5, 7, 6. Basically 5 could give pointer to 7 and then 7 to 6 or something else. It could be anything because it's just a pointer here. Okay, all right. Any question? Similarly, we can have here for another file. Okay, all right. Okay, the good thing about FAT is that we can have hierarchical tree of directory and files. We can have variable length files. Okay, each basic file and directory has metadata. Bad thing is that there is always has got a limitation, right? Because otherwise FAT size, table size will become very, very big, right? So the maximum limit that is supported by FAT32 is 2 terabyte disk. Okay, now we can see that this is generally good enough for many older versions of hard disk, right? But today hard disk size is generally more than few terabytes. So this file system will not be sufficient. And as we have discussed earlier, finding free chunk, okay, finding free chunk requires scanning of the entire disk and scanning of entire FAT. Okay, and if the block size are larger, so if block size is smaller, then FAT table size will grow, and if the block size is large, then if part of the block is used, then there will be internal fragmentation. Okay, so optimal block size is to be used. Okay, however, it requires a lot of random seeking. Okay, because we have concept of pointers here, right? And this pointer we have shown adjacent ones, but normally these pointers can be anywhere. Okay, so we can see that even to access FAT, okay, there is a lot of random seeking. Okay, lot of seeking. Now word seek we use in the hard disk, right? And now right now we are not thinking of optimization of it using main memory, etc. But if it is part of the hard disk, then even to access this FAT will require head movement considerably. Okay, so for example, anything when we execute the statements that are given on top, right? You are opening a file called myfile.txt in the read mode. Okay, and once you open it, you want to read 4 4 KB blocks. Each block of 4 KB, you want to read 4 blocks, and then you will have, and these are, you can see that the links here are far apart, right? So this will require a lot of movement of head. Okay, all right. So this is one disadvantage. Okay. Okay, last one that we want to cover is inode based method, which is the one which is being used in Linux or Unix, and the file system which was popular is called fast file system, FFS. And this diagram I have taken today from Linux journal, which was comparing various file systems for Linux versions, right? Latest Linux versions are XFS, ext4, BTRFs, Razor 5, NTFS. NTFS is the most popular. Okay. However, now let's look at something called older one, which was developed, which is called Berkeley Fast File System. Let's look at the structure of that. Okay. All right. inode, we know what it is, right? Now, why we want to come to a better design? Because FAT is generally slow. Okay. All right. So FAT is basically a linked list based mechanism, not optimized for very short and long files. Okay. Now note that this FFS is designed based on a lot of simulations done. Basically, for most of us, if you see the file sizes, you'll find that most of the file sizes are very small in nature. Of course, this trend keeps changing, and you'll find that now, of course, with the use of so much use of multimedia, etc., maybe file size increase. But when this system was designed based on survey, it was turned out last 30 years of surveys, maybe 20 years back. Okay, it was found that 2 KB is the most common file sizes, 2 kilobytes. Now, as I say, this may not be true today. Okay, but at that point in time, 2 KB is most common size. So, an average file size is 200 KB. Okay, now based on that, can we design a file system which is optimal for many small size, large number of small files, and files which are even bigger, right? So only few files of large sizes. Okay, so now the concept is here. Now we already know what inode is. Okay, and what is inode number? And we can, from open file descriptor, if scan all the way to different tables, for each file we can come to know, basically from each open file and directory we can come to know inode. And of course, open file descriptor tells you about each opening instance of file and where the file pointer is. Okay, but from directory we can come to know about inode, and the inode tells everything about the file. Okay, and this inode maintains a multi-level tree structure to find storage blocks for file. So it's good for little and large files. Now here the structure is asymmetric tree. All right, so it will look something like this, which we have already studied little bit, right? So this is inode array, and index to this is inode number. Index to this array is inode number, and each entry gives you one inode, full inode, details of inode. Okay, inode is nothing but metadata about the file. You know, like the file that you have created, a JPEG file is metadata, and where all these files are stored in terms of block numbers. Okay, now here you can see there are some direct blocks. Okay, the first top some lines you can see are the direct blocks. It means that if each block corresponds to 4 kilobytes, right? And let's assume that there are 12 such direct links. It means that your file can have 48 kilobytes through direct links. You know, if, for example, first block will be that's shown here at the top, the next block is just the second block from the top, and so on and so forth, right? Now the access here is very fast because of direct access. Okay, all right. Okay, note that this corresponds to each file, and then we can see that what is file block number 1, block number 2, block number 3, and so on. And then we can get the block number. Yeah. Any question? All right. Okay, and if somebody is talking, you know. Okay, and if file size is bigger than the 48 KB, which cannot be reached directly, then you can go to one level of indirection. So note that the one which is shown in the last but one row, this is again a block, and then it will have multiple pointers. Okay, now, so note that these are the direct links here. So basically we can find out block, first block, second block, third block, and the contiguous location here within the green, blue rectangle gives the pointers to first, second, third block, and so on, right? So if it is 48 KB or less, then you can use direct pointer. If it's more, and now this simulation shows that most of the files are less than that, so quite happy with this. Okay, if it is more than that, then we can get the next block, that is 49th block, using one level of indirection. That this now gives another certain number of pointers. Okay, so you can go up to 4 MB using second level pointers. Now if your file size is 48 KB plus 4 MB, then you'll have come to the blue circle which is shown at the bottom, blue rectangle, and from you get links to basically you can see that where file can be of the size 4 GB plus 4 MB plus 48 KB. And if your file size is still bigger than that, which is very, very rare in terabytes, then you have to use almost 3 levels of indirections, which is shown at the bottom. The bottommost link, so there will be only, I think, one link which will correspond to 4 terabyte file. All right. Of course, newer file system will have better structures, maybe different structures. So advanced inode based file system is optimized for file systems with many small files. It's based on simulation. Okay, and each node can directly point up to 48 kilobytes of data. And if it's more than that, then we can go through, as we have seen, we can go through basically indirect way, through, say indirect blocks, or double indirect block, or triple indirect blocks. Okay, all right. So it has many advantages: faster file access in general for smaller number of smaller sizes files, greater metadata locality, less random seeking, no need for traverse long chained fat entries, right? And free space management is also simpler because bitmap can be cached into memory for fast access.